Well, hello everybody. Today we celebrate Saint Teresa of Calcutta. She's actually not on all the calendars, and it's not mandatory in the United States, but still, she's special to me and very special to most people in the Catholic Church and even outside of the Catholic Church. She joined the Sisters of Loreto when she was 18 and was a great Loreto sister. She became the headmaster of the school in Calcutta and was very, very popular. But she experienced the extreme poverty right outside of the monastery walls, and she just had to do something. So she went out and started ministering with the superior's permission and with the bishop's permission and with the local parish priest's permission. Finally, she ended up on her own getting a unique habit and starting a community. And then some of her students, one by one, began to join her. And she lived in dire poverty as she did this. Some people counseled her against it, but she did it anyway. And it took off. It took off. So they ended up with foundations all over India, and then it ended up with foundations all across every continent in the world, including ours. And of course, she was made international figure by Malcolm Muggeridge when he did a BBC special on her called Something Beautiful for God, and she became an international phenomenon. There are lots of sisters doing very similar things all over the world, but they didn't have a Malcolm Muggeridge do a BBC special on them. And then, of course, she won the Nobel Peace Prize, and she became a phenomenon. And it just snowballed in a good way from there. So I got a chance to meet Mother Teresa of Calcutta. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, a little girl, I think 10 years old, said, "Mama, can we get Mother Teresa to come to our town?" And the mom wisely said, "Well, let's call and find out." So they called the Mother House in Calcutta. Mother Teresa, lo and behold, answered the phone, and the little girl said, "Mother Teresa, would you come to our little town in Indiana?" And Mother Teresa said, "Well, sure, little girl, I'll come." And a year or so later, she was in Fort Wayne. What they did in Fort Wayne is they gave 10 tickets to every house of worship, Catholic, non-Catholic Christians, to Jewish believers. So it was an interfaith gathering. There were no Muslims in those days in Fort Wayne. And they just gave 10 tickets to everybody, 10 tickets to every religious house, if there were more than 10 in those houses. And I was asked to come up from Indianapolis. I lived in Indianapolis at the time, and sing the Peace Prayer. And it was a great honor for me. So there we were on that day. She was all of, I think, 4 feet 11 inches tall, little bitty lady. And I sang my peace prayer, and Mother Teresa gets up to speak. They put the little children's step behind the podium because she couldn't reach up above the podium. Nobody could see her. And she starts in this interfaith gathering, this ecumenical gathering of Christians as well, by saying something so Catholic. She says, "Let's begin by praying a decade of the Rosary." And I'm up on the stage with all of these dignitaries, you know, and all across the stage, I could hear this audible gasp, you know, oh, she can't do that. But out in the congregation of 3,000 people or so, it was like, "Oh, we'll do anything Mother Teresa wants us to do. Sure, we'll pray a decade of the Rosary. It's Mother Teresa." And so lo and behold, we prayed a decade of the Rosary. Right in front of her were all of these sisters and nuns. Almost none of them were in habits or the religious garb. They were almost all in secular clothes. They'd almost all given up the religious habit. They were dressed nicely and simply, but you know, they had no veils, simple dress, but it was secular dress, and they had earrings and some makeup and, you know, simple hairstyles, but you could tell that they had been styled. And Mother Teresa begins talking about her life as a sister and her ministry. One by one, they begin to weep. And by the end of her talk, she had all of the sisters weeping, 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 weeping. And most of the congregation was weeping. It was such an anointed, beautiful event. After I came up and I said, here's a tape of Come to the Quiet, which included the Peace Prayer of St. Francis. And she says, oh, John Michael, I would love to accept it, but I don't let the sisters listen to recorded music. We don't have tape machines or radios or TVs. We've renounced all these things. We live in extreme poverty. Well, I was touched by this. What poverty. And then years later, she made a foundation in Little Rock, Arkansas. She came in. They had bought this very poor place they thought would meet her standards. First thing she did was she got down on her hands and knees and began ripping up the carpet with her bare hands. Again, poverty. And when we made a foundation down in Nicaragua, we would, Mother Viola and I, along with Dan O'Neill from Mercy Corps and Father Bill Wasson from the Little Brothers and Sisters, with their orphanages, we just, for over a year, we made countless trips down there trying to find the right place. And we would always go and celebrate Mass with the Missionaries of Charity, her community. And the poverty of that place always ministered to us. Very clean, very clean, but very poor. In their chapel, they always knelt on mats on the floor. No chairs, no choir stalls. Stark simplicity. It always ministered to me, and I had a similar experience at Shantivanam in India, where they sit lotus style or kneel on the floor. Had a similar experience with the Coptic monks outside of Corpus Christi, Texas, where they kneel or sit cross-legged on the floor. This kind of poverty ministers to me. So I'm convicted by that kind of poverty, and I've strayed from it. And so this morning at our communion service, and we have a penance service with the community, I begged everybody's forgiveness for straying from poverty. So Mother Teresa of Calcutta, Saint Teresa of Calcutta, pray for us. And remember, all things are possible with God.